Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. In this session, we'll be going through how you can bring mobile threat defense and data policy insights into your security operations center. Today we're going to cover how Jamf is uniquely positioned to provide deep insights beyond simple threat detections, what integration options are available in order to connect your organization's threat event data with your preferred security solutions, and how to effectively use this data to create or extend your existing workflows and playbooks. My name is Miriam Patel. I'm a product manager here at Jamf, and I'm responsible for our mobile threat defense product. As well as threat defense, I look at our security integrations between Jamf threat defense and any third-party security solutions that you may be using, such as your SIMs. I joined Jamf through the acquisition of Wandera. If you have any questions about endpoint or network security on mobile devices, please add them to the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them for you as we go through this presentation. So, what is Wandera? Wandera has been a leader in mobile threat defense since 2012. Over the years, we've been consistently rated as a leader within the MTD space by analysts and trusted by reputable organizations in both the public and private sector to protect their devices and their data. Wandera was acquired by Jamf in July of this year, and today I'm excited to show you how Wandera's unique insights into mobile devices can be leveraged by you and your teams in order to keep your organization safe. Threat defense has protections on both the device and in the network. On the device, we're able to monitor and alert on configuration vulnerabilities, such as jailbroken or rooted devices. These detections help you to maintain a clear baseline for device hygiene and what minimum requirements a device should meet when handling corporate data. This is further enabled by ensuring that all applications can be vetted in order to find risky applications that could be malware or even legitimate applications that have known vulnerabilities in specific versions. As we move towards the network layer, you can see protections against infrastructure threats, such as man-in-the-middles, phishing, which is the #1 threat vector that we see on mobile devices right now, and web content threats, such as malicious app downloads and communications with command and control, or C2 traffic. In this session, we'll be mostly covering the data available for you in order to integrate with your SecOps tools. But if you're interested in learning more about Jamf threat defense, you can check out some of the other sessions being covered, such as Exploring the Jamf Security Cloud by Mike Campin, a deep dive of Jamf threat defense by Adam Boynton, and Zero-Day Phishing Protection by David Price, who tackles the tricky problem of blocking a new, previously unknown phishing domain during the very first time that it's accessed by a user. In order to protect against the latest threats, at the heart of threat defense lies Miriam, our advanced threat intelligence engine. Miriam takes input from more than 425 million sensors, and this year so far has scanned more than 90 million mobile applications and 75 million unique domains. All of this culminates in around 20 million threats blocked annually for our customers. In order to continually improve Miriam, we have dedicated R&D teams of data scientists and threat researchers who ensure that Miriam is finely tuned to dynamically classify new domains, detect zero-day phishing campaigns, as well as zero-day malware, and various other risks through a range of multimodal machine learning techniques. Now, let's talk integrations. During a deployment of threat defense to mobile devices, we often note the various teams and stakeholders that are involved within the process. Each team or set of stakeholders within your organization is sure to have their own set of responsibilities and requirements on what they want to get out of new tools. Those who deploy and manage the tools might not necessarily be the ones getting value from them, nor should they be. Often, we'll see a mobility team that is either independent or part of a greater IT team, which is tasked with empowering employees with mobile devices wherever they may be traveling to. The wider IT team is tasked with ensuring that these employees are able to access both the applications and the data that they need to be productive. Finally, the security team is often tasked with mitigating and remediating any potential security risks faced by the organization. We understand that these teams will not be using the same set of tools. So a key goal for us has been to make sure that we're making the data available to you and your teams wherever they can be most productive in their role. In order to facilitate all of this, we've built a set of data streams that work in real time in order to get you the data that you need. These data streams consist of the threat event stream, which hosts all threat detection events flagged by Jamf threat defense across multiple attack vectors. The network traffic stream, which hosts all network traffic events captured by the Jamf Security Cloud if you have chosen to add a cloud proxy or secure DNS traffic vectoring element to your deployment. The App Insights stream for app vetting insights into the applications installed on your mobile devices, what kind of permissions they have, and the libraries that they might be using. And finally, the devices stream for visibility into your mobile device's state in order to find out what's going on with the device, if it's active, if it's been checking in regularly, etc. The latter two, the App Insights stream and the devices stream, are currently only available to our partners. However, if you're interested in integrating with them, definitely reach out to either your account rep or myself in order to discuss this further. The data streams mentioned so far are primarily Ceph-encoded syslog messages secured via TLS. In Q4 2021, we'll also be adding support for receiving these messages as HTTP events in JSON format, as they can be much more easily ingestible in certain security solutions out there. Aside from the data streams, you also have the ability to send events to an AWS S3 bucket, which is often used by customers who have specific data handling or retention requirements. Finally, our RISC API is a bidirectional REST API, which can be used for either reporting or conditional access use cases. This API allows you to get the latest Wandera calculated risk state of your devices, as well as be able to override them. This means that you're able to pull this data out into other systems in order to enact conditional access, or take context from other systems and use Jamf private access in order to block access to sensitive applications in the event a risk is seen elsewhere. If you're interested in learning more about the technicalities of how to hook up your third-party tools or custom applications using Wandera APIs and data streams, then check out the Get Connected with Wandera APIs and Data Streams session, where I'll be going over exactly how you can do this. This particular session will cover technical aspects like configuration, authentication, and much more. Now, let's talk about the threat event stream. The threat event stream is the most popular security integration point that we have. Almost always, this is used to ingest MTD threat data into the customer's SIM or SOAR-like product. By default, it utilizes a common event format, an open log management standard, to enable interoperability with other security log aggregation tools, as well as managed service providers. As mentioned earlier, this same data will also be available in the JSON format very soon. If we dig into the Ceph messages, you can see that it includes a header and an extension, as shown here in the first line highlighted in bold. The Ceph version portion of the message is a mandatory header. The remainder of the header is formatted using fields delimited by a pipe character. Device vendor, device product, and device version are strings that uniquely identify the type of sending device. No two products use the same device vendor and device product pair, so you can be sure where the events are coming from and what formats they should be taking. Following this, you will see a clear threat category that the event belongs to. Jamf Threat Defense has over 45 granular threat categories in order to provide you with the flexibility you require to set up policies and react to such events. For example, you may want to treat a vulnerable OS different to an OS that is simply out of date, because a vulnerable OS version may pose a higher risk to you and your organization. Finally, the header shows the severity of this threat event. Again, in order to allow you to fine-tune your policies and automations to fit your requirements, you're able to customize this within the admin console to your liking. If a threat category poses a high risk to your organization, you can set that severity all the way up to 5 or 10 within the Ceph message. Or if it's not a concern for you, then you can always dial it back down. Now let's talk about how these Ceph messages look like for some specific threats. First, we'll cover web content threats. The most useful fields for most web content threats, such as phishing, spam, cryptojacking, or malware network traffic, will be the domain name, the destination IP, the destination port, and the policy action. The recommendation for such threat categories is to set the policy to auto-respond with a block so that you're blocking the request entirely even before the user has a chance to access the web page. This means that the user's device will not be able to communicate with the specific network resource at all. Even with this policy in place, there are important workflows to consider. Take phishing, for example. While a zero-day phishing detection might have blocked the phishing attempt on the threat defense-enabled device, you may want to update other security solutions to block the same domain, ensuring that the user doesn't get caught out while accessing the same link from another device. Second, multiple users being blocked from accessing the same phishing domain may point to a larger, more targeted phishing campaign. Here, you may wish to consider further investigation and follow-up actions to make sure that your organization and your users are more alert. Now, onto app threats. A popular case of a legitimate yet vulnerable app is that of WhatsApp. A vulnerability first discovered last year in the popular messaging service allowed attackers to install spyware on a device simply by making a WhatsApp call. Once installed, this spyware could turn on a phone's camera and microphone, scan emails and messages, and collect a user's GPS location data. Here, what threat defense will do is alert the user to remove the application, alert the admin to assess the overall impact of this on your device estate, send a message to your SIM with details of this app vulnerability so you can investigate further, and signal a UEM to announce the presence of this risk on the device. Further actions you can then take with this is using Jamf Pro to remove the vulnerable app until it's patched and safe to use. You can also remove access to sensitive corporate data while the device is in a risky state. Moving to network threats. The recommended policy for such threats is to use an auto-respond policy action of securing the traffic. These are threats like man-in-the-middles, risky hotspots, dangerous certificates, etc. For any organizations that have other VPN use cases, they can also combine Jamf Threat Defense with Jamf Private Access to ensure that all SaaS and enterprise applications with sensitive data are always encrypted using zero-trust network access technologies. Beyond just encrypting all traffic, you can make sure that there is a continuous assessment of the device and the user's risk profile before granting access to apps such as Salesforce or OneDrive. By flagging such events in your SIM, you're able to investigate if the man-in-the-middle attack was more targeted and potentially a part of a wider attack, or a standalone event from an employee who is simply working from a remote location and accessing a public Wi-Fi hotspot. By aggregating events and reporting on them, you can also identify any hotspots that are deemed risky due to simply being misconfigured. This is very popular with free and public hotspots. Often, you can also filter these out in order to highlight more serious events more clearly. All threats within threat defense can be set to have an exception or ignore policy. This can be applied within the threat defense admin console in order to mark threats as having been investigated and these not requiring any further action, or the relevant threat just not being relevant to your organization and your current needs. When it comes to stateful threats, such as configuration vulnerabilities, the key is to stay on top of the most impacting risks and tackle them from multiple angles. By aggregating this data with your UEM, EDR, or EPP data, you can track your entire device estate easily for patch management purposes. You can then send further consolidated alerts to your users to let them know what they need to do across all of their devices at once in order to avoid the need to send multiple messages. You can, of course, use UEMs like Jamf Pro in order to update vulnerable and out-of-date operating systems. And finally, you can set conditional access policies via UEM or via Jamf private access to ensure that risky devices are not accessing your corporate data. One of the key fields contained within the threat detection message is the deep link URL back to Radar, our admin console. While you may wish to consolidate security events centrally within your SIM or another such tool, there may be occasions where you need to investigate a particular threat event further. In this case, the event URL value is a permalink which allows you to jump directly into security event logs within Radar and land on the exact event that you're looking at. From here, you can find out information on the threat, such as CVEs associated with a particular out-of-date OS event, or you can also choose to change the policy for either this specific OS version or the whole threat category in general. Next up, we'll be talking about the network traffic stream, some of the data that's contained within it, and some popular use cases that you can use. As you saw with the threat event stream, the Ceph header contains some basic information about the vendor, the product, and the version of the message. Just instead of threat data, now you can also see network queries instead. One of the benefits of the data streams and how they're built is that once you connect one stream with a particular dataset to your third-party solution, integrating another stream with a different dataset is only a few clicks away. If you have enabled a policy, threat defense will block any access to risky web content from the outset. However, by ingesting the raw network logs from Wandera into a tool like Splunk, you can carry out further analysis should you wish. Using Splunk's AI or machine learning capabilities, you can analyze the logs for suspicious and anomalous behavior by aggregating the data that you receive from Jamf Threat Defense alongside the data that you may be receiving from other security solutions. Some popular IT or networking use cases can also be to identify apps that aren't working very well due to the frequency of retries to specific network resources. Or perhaps you can look at the DNS lookups where the domain doesn't exist. Looking for queries to non-existent domain names can potentially help to unveil DGA botnets. Some of the most popular use cases with a network traffic stream are centered around shadow IT and compliance. You may often have questions around which applications are being used by users, how often they're being used, and if these applications are secure to use. By integrating Wandera data with custom analytics tools like a solution like Microsoft Cloud App Security, you can quickly and easily get answers to such questions through continuous reports, where you can also set up specific alerts to suspicious behavior. For example, as an organization, you may be using Google Drive as your preferred cloud storage app, but suddenly you see a user uploading an unusual amount of data to Dropbox, which has never happened before. Here you may wish to investigate to see if this is a legitimate use case or a case of data exfiltration. Finally, one important and timely use case I wanted to call out today is focused around threat hunting. The Pegasus spyware has been in the news multiple times this year. Pegasus, developed by Israeli surveillance firm NSO Group, is one of the most powerful pieces of targeted spyware affecting mobile devices today. The earliest version of Pegasus, discovered by researchers in 2016, infected phones via a spear phishing attack, which required users to click on a malicious link that is sent to them either via text or an email. Since then, Pegasus has become more advanced and can now be delivered through zero-click attacks, which do not require any end-user interaction at all in order to deliver their payload. These attacks typically exploit zero-day vulnerabilities or unknown bugs in the operating system that have yet to be patched by the manufacturer. When the latest Pegasus discovery was made, Jamf Threat Defense was able to protect customer devices from becoming compromised straight away by blocking command and control traffic associated with Pegasus. This ensures an additional layer of protection on top of using the MDM to enforce a minimum OS version and forcing the device to update, which can often take a long time, especially if the OS update is not available yet. On top of this, with this and similar threat discoveries, security analysts are able to look back across historical logs in order to identify any previously compromised devices, either via identifying devices that directly communicated with command and control traffic associated with the malware, or by looking for specific behavioral patterns associated with the malware. That is it for this session. I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to attend and hope this was valuable for you to understand how Wandera and Jamf can bring new insights into your organization. If you have any further questions or simply want to discuss something you've heard about today, look out for a related topic by me on Braindate, or feel free to reach out to me directly via the email address on my profile. Thank you.